school and told me to stop crying. Then he put his arm on my shoulder and told me to get it out of my system before Dad came home. We then went to eat French fries at McDonald's, and he taught me how to play pinball. He even made a joke that because of me, he got to skip an afternoon of school and asked me if I wanted to help him work on his camera. I guess I was pretty messy because he never let me work on his camera before. At the guidance counselor sessions, they asked the few of us who actually liked Michael to say a few words. I think they were afraid that some of us would try to kill ourselves or something, because they looked very tense, and one of them kept touching his beard. Bridget, who is crazy, said that sometimes she thought about suicide when commercials can't come on during TV. Sorry. She was sincere, and this puzzled the guidance counselors. Carl, who is nice to everyone, said that he felt very sad, but could never kill himself because it is a sin. This one guidance counselor went through the whole group and finally came to me. What do you think, Charlie? What was so strange about this? sister cried for the whole weekend. My dad said there are other people who have it a lot worse, and my mom was quiet, and that was that. A month later, my sister met another boy and started playing happy records again. And my dad kept working, and my mom kept sweeping, and my brother kept fixing his camera. That is, until he left for college at the beginning of the summer. He's playing football for Penn State, but he needed the summer to get his grades right to play football. I don't think there is a favorite kid in our family. There are three of us, and I am the youngest. My brother is the oldest. He is a very good football player and likes his car. My sister is very pretty and mean to boys, and she is in the middle. I get straight A's now, like my sister, and that is why they leave me alone. My mom cries a lot during TV programs. My dad works a lot and is an honest man. My Aunt Ellen used to say that my dad was going to be too proud to have a midlife crisis. It took me until around now to understand what she meant by that, because he just turned 40 and nothing has changed. My Aunt Helen was my favorite person in the whole world. She was my mom's sister. She got straight A's when she was a teenager, and she used to give me books to read. My father said that the books were a little too old for me, but I liked them, so he just shrugged and let me read. My Aunt Helen lived with the family for the last few years of her life because something very bad happened to her. Nobody would tell me what happened then, even though I always wanted to know. When I was around 7, I stopped asking about it because I kept asking like kids always do, and my Aunt Helen started crying very hard. That's when my dad slapped me, saying, "You're hurting your Aunt Helen's feelings." I didn't want to do that, so I stopped. Aunt Helen told my father not to hit me in front of her ever again, and my father said this was his house, and he would do what he wanted, and my mom was quiet, and so were my brother and sister. I don't remember very much more than that because I started crying really hard. And after a while, my dad had my mom take me to my room. It wasn't until much later that my mom had a few glasses of white wine and told me what happened to her sister. Some people really do have it a lot worse than I do. They really do. I should probably go to sleep now. It's very late. I don't know why I wrote a lot of this down for you to read. The reason I wrote this letter is because I start high school tomorrow and I am really afraid of going. Love always, Charlie. September 7, 1991. Dear friend, I do not like high school. The cafeteria is called the Nutrition Center, which is strange. There is this one girl in my advanced English class named Susan. In middle school, Susan was very fun to be around. She liked movies, and her brother Frank made her tapes of this great music that she shared with us. a second string, and that when he starts learning the system, it will be the first string. My dad really hopes he will make it to the pros and play for the Steelers. My mom is just glad he gets to go to college for free because my sister doesn't play football and there wouldn't be enough money to send both of them. That's why she wants me to keep working hard so I'll get an academic scholarship. So, that's what I'm doing until I meet a friend here. I was hoping that the kid who told the truth could become a friend of mine, but I think he was just being a good guy by telling. Love always, Charlie. September 11, 1991. Dear friend, I don't have a lot of time because my advanced English teacher assigned us a book to read. And I like to read books twice. Incidentally, the book is To Kill a Mockingbird. If you haven't read it, I think you should because it is very interesting. The teacher has assigned us a few chapters at a time, but I do not like to read books like that. I am halfway through the first time. Anyway, the reason I am writing to you is because I saw my brother on television. I normally don't like sports too much, but this was a special occasion. My mother started crying, and my father put his arm around her shoulder, and my sister smiled, which is funny because my brother and sister always fight when he's around. But my older brother was on television, and so far, it has been the highlight of my 2 weeks in high school. I miss him terribly, which is strange because we never really talk much when